Got a couple of handguns out here today. A Glock 41, 5.3-inch barrel. Smith & Wesson 686, 4-inch barrel. What I want to test today is some old classic cartridges. Here's the 200 grain 38 Special Super Police round. Here's some Remington 45 Auto 230 grain. Now, the military for the longest time used a 5-inch barrel in 1911 with the 230 grain 45 Auto as their sidearm. At the same time, at a certain point in history, some of the police officers in the United States were using what was referred to as the Super Police round, a 200 grain lead round nose bullet moving at about 650 feet per second. And the whole idea of that was to get a bullet that's very long, which it is, it goes very deep in the case, and when it would hit, it would destabilize and tumble. And the theory behind that was it would cause more damage along the way than just a regular round nose or full metal jacket bullet. So we have one side using the 45 Auto ball round and the other side using the 38 Special Super Police for their go-to cartridges for quote-unquote man-stopper rounds. How will they compare through my Juggernaut box, through water jugs, and through the baloney target? That's a 1 3/4 inch baloney, 4 layers of denim. On the back of that is 3/8 inch particle board to simulate ribs or sternum. We're going to run through the chronograph, see what kind of energy we get, and we'll shoot at some paper and see what kind of accuracy we get, because I'm really interested to see what kind of accuracy I'm going to get with these 200 grain 38 Special Super Police rounds. So let's get started. Let's see what kind of velocity we get with the 200 grain Super Police and the 4-inch barrel. 664, 669, 677, 676, 646. Very consistent loads. Let me run a few rounds through the snub nose revolver. I'm really curious of what kind of velocity I'd be getting out of the snub nose revolver with something like this. Let's see what I get with the snubby. 617, 592, 622. And my glove is stuck in there. Trigger. 646. 634. So not a huge difference between barrel lengths. So what that's telling you is that's a very efficient round. It's not losing much power in a snub nose barrel because of the short burning powder. So that's going to be a nice Super Police load. Going to work really well. So let's see how the 45 does as far as velocity. 45 ACP, 230 grain, full metal jacket, ball rounds. 793. 837. 807. 828. 841. So we're pretty much average for what the military would have used for their 45 ACP ball rounds, about 830 or so. So let's see what happens when we hit the meat target through the water jugs and see what kind of damage it does. See how well the Super Police stacks up in comparison to something like a 45 Auto. Now we're going to hit the water jugs through 1 3/4 inches of baloney, 4 layers of denim, and 3/8 inch particle board. And the last jug on this happens to be made out of ice. I had cold jugs out here. So it might hit ice, but we'll see how far it goes into these water jugs. All right. There's the baloney pack. We went through it, big hole. But what we got to the meat here, here is the entrance hole here. And here's the exit. And it did some damage, but it really didn't do anything like a hollow point would have done. So let's see how many water jugs it went into. Jug 1, we went through that, of course. Jug 2 is cracked and empty. Jug 3 we got a clean hole through. Jug 4, it's still doing pretty good damage. Jug 5, it looks like we went through 5. And it looks like we went all the way through 6 jugs. This one was partially frozen as well. There's a possibility we went through this blanket, but we'll see. Okay, I found the bullet already. Basically, it dented the blanket box backstop, and the bullet was laying in the juggernaut box. Here we are, a 230 grain slug. The front of the bullet is a little bit flattened, but not by much. So that's what you get with the 45 auto. Now let's see how the 200 grain Super Police round compares. Alright, here's the 200 grain Super Police lead round nose through 4 layers of denim, 1 3/4 inches of polony, and 3/8 inch particle board into water jugs. Let's see what we get with the Super Police. Right. Here's the back of the particle board. It actually looks a little bit more damaged than the 45 in my opinion. Also with the baloney we see a little bit more cracking going on. But not really any different than the 45 auto from what I can tell right here. Jug 1. Jug 2. Interesting crack on it. Jug 3. And we're starting to tumble because the impact point was centered on the first jug. This is the bottom of the 3rd jug. 4th, we're hitting the very bottom. It looks like we don't have any hits on the 5th jug. And there's the bullet. And we actually have what I would consider expansion. It looks like it's at least 40 caliber, so it mushroomed just a little bit. And it did not over penetrate, and it looked like what it did to the meat target was pretty much the same as the 45 auto. So I would say overall this is pretty close in performance, even though we're going to have less foot-pounds energy with the 38. So let's see what kind of groups these have on paper, just out of curiosity. Compare it to a few rounds of the 45 auto, see what kind of accuracy we can get. Alright, I'm back from about 7 yards, 8 yards. I'm going to try a 45 auto at some headshots, see what I get with the rounds that I have left in here. So, accuracy is very good at the 45 auto for the most part. Let's see how it compares to the Super Police 200 grain. Alright, I'll go for some center mass shots with these 200 grain rounds, see how they compare. Not bad, not bad. And by the way, I just marked it off. It is 10 yards actually. So for 10 yards, that's not bad at all. Pretty good accuracy. It's just a little bit high point of impact, which is to be expected with something so heavy. So I'm going to fire a few more rounds, and then we'll see how the snub nose revolver handles them. I think it'll shoot them pretty well as well. Alright, very consistent. Fire a few rounds to the snub nose, see how that does. accuracy is a little bit questionable with this particular gun. I moved up to about 6 yards. Let's see what I get from here with the snub nose. Can't tell where I'm hitting from here. But the accuracy, it's not really the load that it's going to be a good load for this particular gun. It seems like it's not quite hitting the point of aim that I want it to. But for the 4-inch barrel, it's a very, very good round. So let's see what we get when we shoot them off a little bit of a distance. I think we'll have some pretty decent, fun accuracy at a little bit of a distance. And it's going to be a little bit challenging of a shot. My tank was frozen to the ground. So it's only about 10 inches high that we have any frontal impact that we can hit, and it's about 15 inches wide. So we're back from 45 yards. These happen to be a little bit warmer rounds than the Remington. These shoot about 900 feet per second, hand loads, 230 grain ball round. So let's see what these will actually do at 45 yards to that tank if I can hit it. Not too hard to hit that thing from that distance. Pretty good rounds. Now let's see how the Super Police compares. I'll probably have to aim a little bit low because they're kind of launching up. So we'll see how those will do at 45 yards. Right, here's the Super Police rounds. I aimed right on it. I got to aim low. Those are just as accurate, maybe more. I'm going to call it and say these are more accurate than the 45 auto, which makes sense for a lot of reasons. One, I measured them at 358 diameter. That means they're gripping the rifling of this 357 bore. Got a perfect spin. It's a fixed barrel, and it's a heavy gun. So everything about it, and you're not dealing with transonic shift of rounds that you sometimes deal with like 9mm. Everything about it makes it a very accurate round. It's just at the point of aim, point of impact, it's going to be a little bit different. But you know, sights can be adjusted depending on if you want that to be your primary load. So the 38 Super Police compared to the 45 auto, the classic military round compared to the classic ingenuity of the 200 grain Super Police round, I would say overall, even though the energy numbers are different, pretty comparable performance on what they can actually do. Pretty impressed with these rounds, and it's an option that can definitely be utilized. Now, in an ultralight gun like I have, didn't want to shoot them all that well. Something like an SP-101 though, Smith & Wesson Model 60 or 640, I think they would shoot it very well. Anything made out of steel, but for some reason that gun doesn't want to shoot it all that well. But you know, something like this as well, or a Smith & Wesson Model 10 or something like that, I think it would shoot it very, very well. So that's what you get today with the Super Police round versus the 45 auto. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.